Hello everybody, Timothy Bailey here with Project Learn and our video for today. Well, today you can tell it looks a little bit different, so we are going to do something a little bit different. We recently had a video looking at voting, what it was and how it works and what we vote on. Now we have a very handy flyer from our friends at WKSU. And so I thought we would look at the flyer and I would explain and talk about what it is that this flyer is telling us. So, how to vote in the 2020 election. This is important because things do change from year to year. Most of this is probably true each year, but you always want to get the most up-to-date information. So the question here then, what do you need? Well, you need preferably an Ohio driver's license or state ID. If you drive in Ohio, you probably already have a driver's license. Some of you perhaps might be using an international driver's license or something, but you do need an Ohio driver's license. Now, the ID might be if you're not driving, but you need an ID for other purposes, perhaps going into federal buildings or your job or something like that. So you may very well have an ID that doesn't let you drive, but shows who you are, your address, and things like this. Notice down here, Ohio law requires one of the following forms of identification. That is what ID stands for, identification. So driver's license is a kind of identification. And if you look here, Ohio driver's license or state ID. This next thing says that it can have a current or former address as long as your current address is in the official list of registered voters for the precinct. A precinct is an area where people live, where they vote, right? So precinct, just an area. Now, what's important here is that the voting people, the people in charge running the voting, need your current address. And when I went to vote, my driver's license has my former or previous address. So while it can have your current or former address, you may have to supply another piece of identification with your current address, which takes us to this, right? So this is a little bit, there's a little bit of an issue with this first part. If your driver's license has an address where you used to live, you will need to supply two things. You'll need to supply this also. So an original or copy of a utility bill, that's your electric bill, water bill, gas bill, a bank statement, a government check, a paycheck, or any other document from the last 12 months with your current name and address. So I went to vote. My driver's license had a former address, my previous address. I had to run out to the car and get something. I got my registration for my car, which counts, right? That's another document with my current address, and I took that in, right? So the voting people have to have your current address, and then if your driver's license has your current address, you're good. If not, you need to go and get something else or take something with you that does show your current name and address. Another option is a photo ID issued by the U.S. government or state of Ohio that has your name, current address, and is not expired, right? None of these can be expired, right? Your driver's license either. And this other document has to be within the last year, the last 12 months. So what might this be? Well, it could be your passport, right? Certain people have their passport on them. They use their passport. They carry their passport with them. So your passport would get you in to vote. Again, as long as it's not expired or as long as your address is current. Military ID. So if you are in the military, you can also take that. So that is what you need, right? As long as you have that information, it is actually quite simple to go in and vote. Now, the ways to vote in the 2020 election. Let's look at number 3, in-person early voting. Vote at your local Board of Elections, October 6th to November 2nd, weekdays between 8 and 5. right? And Board of Elections is just the department, the office, where they run and take care of all things related to voting and elections, right? So if we go here, let me pull up something. Let's go to a new website. So many of you probably live in Summit County, so Summit County Board of Elections. And here, I have it right here. There it is. I can go to their website. Soon I might be able to go to their website. Here we go. All right. So this has all kinds of information on it. It also has, you can see down here, the address 470 Grant Street, right? And we saw that on the beginning as well. So here is the place where you should be able to go and vote. My suggestion is you might also call them or double check on the website about going there to vote. Okay, so that's the one. You can do that now, right? I did it last week. I live in a different county. I live in Stark County, so I went to the Stark County Board of Elections and I voted. It is possible that there is more than one Board of Elections office, so do check that. After the 19th of October, the hours get longer. That means extend to also include weekends. So again, call your Board of Elections to double check. Because on this flyer it says that you can vote 8 to 5, but if you noticed on the website here, it says that they close at 4:30. So it's hard to tell which one is true. It could be that the office closes at 4:30, but the voting stays open another half hour. Again, when in doubt, when you're not certain for anything like this, always call or have someone call for you, right, if you need to find out. The final day to vote early in person at the Board of Elections is Monday, November 2nd from 8 to 2. After that, right, we go to Election Day. But there's also this, absentee mail-in voting, right? Absentee is to not be present. It's the person who is not present. So it means you are not here voting at one of these places. You are doing it through the mail. So you need to complete an absentee ballot application. An application that says, I, Timothy Bailey, whatever your name is, would like to vote through the mail, right? So you might have received one of these already, but perhaps it got lost. Perhaps you get, like I do, a lot of junk mail, and you don't know where it is. No worries, right? You can call the County Board of Elections, right? We saw their website with the phone number. You might also go to the local library. So you can go to the Summit County main branch of the library or one of the other branches and ask them to print one for you. Complete this application and mail it to the Board of Elections. On the website we saw would be the address, right? You might also have the address on the application. Step 2 then, once you get the actual ballot, right? That is the piece of paper that you are voting on. You're going to vote, mark all of the people and things you're voting for, and mail it back to the Board of Elections. Okay? That's the second way. Now the third way, the way, sort of the traditional way, the way people, many people did in the past, right, was to vote on Election Day. And Election Day was one day, November 3rd. And it's this day that has the longest time for voting, as far as one day. So 6:30 in the morning until 7:30 p.m. However, right, sometimes this day can be quite busy, and there are crowds of people trying to vote. So it's possible on Election Day you could wait a considerable amount of time, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to vote. This is why the early in-person voting, making it to the Board of Elections, right, can be easier. When I went to vote last week, it took me about 15 minutes to vote. Very easy, very fast, right? The only difference, the Board of Elections may be less convenient for you to get to. You might need to figure out the bus to go there, or take an Uber, or have someone drive you if you can't drive yourself. On election day, there are many polling locations. A polling location is a place where you are voting. So many of these are in your neighborhood. So they might be at the church or at the school or at the community center, right? So it's up to you, right? On election day, it might be both more convenient because the polling location is right here, close to where I live, but it could also be less convenient because it might take more time. So you might have to spend 2 hours, right, at the community center. Okay. Uh, Always verify, just like over here, where to vote by calling your Board of Elections. You can call them, you can tell them where you live, you can make sure you're registered, all of that, and they will tell you the address of the polling place for you, right, if you're going to vote on election day. Couple deadlines, right? The request absentee ballot is Halloween, so October 31st. If you want to do this, vote through the mail, you need to fill out this application by October 31st. And you're sending it in the mail, right? So this takes time. So if you want to do this, I don't want to leave the house, I want to vote through the mail, right? You need to do this soon, right? If you're worried, I don't want to send my ballot, I don't want to vote through the mail, I think it might get lost, I'm worried about it not getting there on time, whatever, I recommend doing this as long as you verify where you're going, what the time the Board of Elections is open until, all of that. You have to return the mail-in ballot by November 2nd, right? Okay. If you need help, here we have an email address from our friends at WKSU, so electionprotection@wksu.org. Also, you can check out the website, wksu.org/vote, VOTE. I hope this is interesting and helpful. I hope you have an idea how you want to vote, what you need to do, and what you need to take with you to vote. Go ahead and get out there and vote. Thank you. Have a great day.